In A-level politics, I got an A star. In the US part of A-level politics, which was one of the papers, I finished top 30 in the country for performance in that paper. Today, I'm going to be explaining what you can do and how you get an A star in A-level politics. This video is going to be split into two main parts. Number one, I'm going to tell you the best A-level politics resources, the resources that helped me get an A star. And number two, I'm going to be explaining the specific techniques I used to get an A star. If you're new here, please subscribe and please everyone leave a like. My name is Henry Brand. I got all 9s in my GCSEs, A star B in my A-levels. And my aim is just to help as much as I can, help you improve your grades, improve your revision, and improve your life in general. I'm going to be doing videos on how to get an A star in as many A-level subjects as I can. For the subjects where I didn't get an A star, I'm going to be bringing in friends and people I know who got an A star so they can explain it to you. So make sure you're subscribed with notifications on for that and comment what subject you'd like to see next. So these are the resources that I would recommend as a must-have if you'd like an A star in A-level politics. Number one, the first thing you should do is go to Tutor2U website. All of these will be linked in the description, but I would go to the Tutor2U website and they do a politics almost weekly newsletter. So every week or every 2 weeks, they basically email you all of the latest updates in politics in the UK and USA. So basically all of the current affairs that are going on now, and they provide analysis on it, questions on it. And this is really important. In A-level politics, unlike any other A-level really, you need to know what's going on now. You need to know what's going on around you in the political world in real life. They don't really like examples that are like 10 years old, 20 years old. Unlike history, the content is always evolving, and staying on top of this is what A-star students do. So sign up now to the Tutor2U newsletter. Number two, this is slightly linked to this, but read the news. You need to be absorbed in the news, okay? So I had The Guardian, which is free online, and I also subscribed to the newspaper, and I just read around politics a lot. You need to have a good understanding, like I said, of what's going on, and have the news up as a tab, always in your laptop or whatever you revise on your computer. Just make sure you read the news regularly. Next up is Seneca. Seneca for A-level politics, especially EdXL A-level politics, which is what I use, is amazing. I spent 110 hours on Seneca to get an A star in A-level politics, so definitely get Seneca and sign up for A-level politics there. Fourth is the A-level politics show podcast on Spotify. This is only about £2 a month. It is really worth it. I would listen to loads of these podcasts, especially if you're in your second year now, and in the build up to the actual exams. It's incredibly useful. Finally, A-level politics YouTube. I'm going to put that in the description, so definitely subscribe to that too. They provide a lot of really good essay plans, and he also predicted so many questions that would come up in the actual exams. So 100% subscribe to that channel now. So those are the main resources that get you an A star. Next, I'm going to be talking about what I actually did to get an A star. So the main plan I had to get an A star in A-level politics involved around learning the content and being very, very good at the content side, and then working on essay side and making sure my essays were A star quality too. To learn the content, this is what I did. Number one, Seneca. I've explained earlier, but I spent 110 hours on Seneca in A-level politics across 2 years. So this isn't actually a crazy amount. It adds up to about an hour a week. Some weeks it was more, some weeks it was less. But what I would do is when I knew a topic was coming up in class, I would go through the Seneca and do all of that topic before we'd even begun doing it in class. This meant that I was ahead of what we were already on, and when I went over it in class, I already understood it, because understanding a lot of the content is important in politics. I would also make sure I was regularly going over these Senecas again and again. So in the second year, I was constantly going over the first year content. It provides you with loads of facts that stay in your head, and also a good understanding and lots of ideas that you can use in essays. So I would go through Seneca. I would eventually complete every single Seneca course, probably at least 3 times across the 2 years for A-level politics. So Seneca is an absolute essential. The next thing I did was flashcards. So this was also across the 2 years, but I would write my flashcards as I went in politics. I wrote them on Quizlet, and I split them up into the main papers that I needed to do. I'll link my flashcards in the description. I think it's better if you create your own though. You always need to be on the lookout for a cool fact, a cool stat in modern news. So use the news, and if you see anything of use that you think, okay, it's worth putting this in, type up into a flashcard. Create flashcards as you go. I had hundreds of politics flashcards, loads and loads and loads and loads of little key facts, little key stats. And I basically learned this in the second year, but I wrote my flashcards as I went along instead of writing notes. I don't think writing notes on paper is very useful. I didn't look back at a single politics note I made from the first year. Instead, I made flashcards of the content as it was being taught. I'd go through, I'd just flashcard it. This made sure that I would keep going over them, and it made sure it stayed in my memory, and it also made sure I was learning the relevant content. Seneca is more like the notes. Flashcards is for the specific detail which you need a lot of in A-level politics. So that's the main technique for learning the content. One other thing as well is make sure you know the politics specification. I'll link this in the description, but I had this up when my teacher was teaching, so I could always see if what we were doing was what was out of the specification, which is everything you need to learn. Next up is about essay technique. So the way I did this is relatively simple, and it involves a lot of practice essays. So I would do a practice question roughly once every 2 weeks, once a week as we got into the second year. So do loads of practice questions, okay? Early on, they're probably not going to be as good, but you need to build your essay standard up to an A-star, okay? You need to be able to write A-star essays, and then it's all about learning the content. So hand in, probably about 2 months into your A-levels, once you've learned some content, start handing in regular questions outside from anything you're doing in class to your teacher. Ask them for a big list of questions too. Once you've got a good A-star technique, the next thing you should know is essay plans. So here's a politics essay plan. This is what it looks like. And what I did, especially in the build up to the exams, is I would get a massive list of potential politics questions and I would just plan every single one. This is how many essay plans it took me to get an A-star in A-level politics. Loads and loads and loads, okay? So go through and essay plan loads of questions because you don't have time to write all the questions. So even just planning them is really useful too. Next, what I would do is I would also complete past papers. This is important for the timing. I'd probably do this near the end of year 1 and from January onwards in year 2, just to make sure that you've actually know the content before you start writing essays on it. But practice papers is incredibly useful too. One other thing I did was use examiners' reports. So basically, I know this from Edexcel. I'm pretty sure AQA do it as well, and other exam boards. But what Edexcel did is they released every single year a review of how the exams went for students. So they would say students did this very well, they weren't so good at this, students need to be reminded to do this, for example. And then they would have A-star level questions for every single question that was asked in that exam series. So what I did in the build-ups to my exams is I would just read them. I'd get it up on my iPad and I would literally just read their comments. I'd read the A-star questions and answers they had and why they were an A-star. And what this did is it allowed me to see exactly what the exam board wanted and needed to get an A-star in politics. So those are the main techniques of what I did to get an A-star in A-level politics. One other thing as well I would say is to engage in the subject. Okay, you should really immerse yourself in politics. Watch documentaries, watch YouTube videos, read the news. It's so important and it will really help if you have such a strong grasp of A-level politics. Books as well, like this one, Code of Conduct, link in the description, are really useful as well, just to give you a good political backstory. And in this book, what I did when I read it is I would highlight anything I thought I should flashcard. And then I went through and I flashcarded it. For example, here, I'd highlight bits and I'd say AO1, so knowledge. So immerse yourself in the subject. I hope this video was helpful. That's how I got an A-star in A-level politics. That's how you can get an A-star in A-level politics. It's about very efficiently learning the content and learning the content to an A-star standard, and then also writing essays to a high standard too. Leave any questions you have in the comments, and please, as I said, make sure to subscribe and leave a like.